We'll now move on to the judicial review section, and Murdo Fraser.
You referred earlier in questions, in response to questions that were asked by Margaret Mitchell and by Alistair Allen about the note on prospects that was prepared by external counsel on the 27th of September. And you said, if I heard you rightly, you said that counsel were confident, that was the term you used, I think, counsel were confident about the case the Scottish Government had. I'm just having a look at the joint note by senior and junior counsel by Roddy Dunlop, QC, and Christine O'Neill, and they say this at paragraph 6. We think there is a real risk that the court may be persuaded by the petitioner's case in respect of the ground of challenge based on procedural unfairness. And they go on to say, we consider the defence to be perfectly stateable. However, it would be wrong to pretend we do not see vulnerability in this regard. I wouldn't categorise that as confident. I would categorise that as a nervous judgment on the prospects.
So I wouldn't, in any kind of proper legal sense, and other people may take a different view of this. I don't think, and I've not gone back and checked all of this, so it may not be 100% accurate, but I don't think in all of the legal action, judicial review action that I have had ministerial involvement in, oversight of, during my years in government, I don't think I've ever seen an opinion that says 100% this is a cast iron case, there is no risk of losing this. You get the risks ranked in order, and actually this note of prospects would be at the more optimistic end of some that I've seen. It highlights what they consider to be the greatest vulnerability. It turned out not to be the greatest vulnerability, but says we should stress that we do see an answer to this point. And that is actually the kind of thing in a legal opinion that does give you confidence if you're having a potential vulnerability pointed out. In fact, maybe I mentioned it a moment ago, and I've not gone back and looked at all of the opinion and all the legal advice on minimum pricing, so I am speaking from recollection here. But in the early days of minimum pricing, and it's a subject I cared deeply about, was very associated with, losing it in court would have been, posed great questions for me, as well as being really regrettable from a public health policy perspective. But in the early days of minimum pricing, I think if you were to apply anything like the test you're applying to this note of prospects, we would never have done it, because particularly in those early days, the view on our prospects of success were actually not that confident. But we took a view that this was an important public health policy. We thought we could argue it, and therefore it was worth doing because of the importance of it. And that's just the nature of this. And so in the context of all the legal opinions I've seen in different court cases, that actually is probably at the more optimistic end of the spectrum.
Okay. I'm not going to argue the toss with you on that, because to be fair, the Council's opinion says there's a stateable case. So I think it was reasonable for the Scottish Government to defend what was a stateable case.